That was not the problem. I stayed 30 years, but I left once. The problem was the violence. He became physically, emotionally, financial, you name it, all kinds of abuses.
Mm-hmm.
I experienced it all. And how about the name slandering? So I had restraining orders, I had this and that because after two physical beatings, that is what made me leave. It was too much. So when I say that, oh, this is what is happening, he's decided he's taking a second wife.
This is the Joy Act, where finding joy beyond divorce begins with your understanding that the depth of your heartache shows the depth of your capacity for joy. I'm Dr. Lisa Summerour, and together we'll use accountability, alignment, communication, and trust to transform your journey. It's time to step into the Joy Act.
Hello, good people. Welcome to the Joy Act. I'm Dr. Lisa Summerour, and I am so excited to bring you today's episode. And I am going to read this bio because I really want you to meet my next guest. You're going to learn so much today. Bi Aminah Opondo is a trauma release coach whose journey to this work has been anything but easy. After surviving a 30-year marriage that became emotionally, physically, and spiritually abusive, she fled her home country of Kenya to escape to Canada with two young daughters. No safety net, no roadmap, just courage, conviction, and the deep knowing that her life and theirs depended on it. Now, B helps others heal from trauma by combining lived wisdom with professional training. I think sometimes the best teachers, the best instructors, the best coaches are people who not only have the education to support and the training to support, but they have a personal experience that just takes it to a different level when they're helping folks. Her voice is gentle, but her story is oh so powerful. And I promise by the end of this conversation, you're going to believe in the possibility of starting over no matter where you happen to be in your journey. Even if right now it feels like it's impossible, you're going to have hope that it's not. Bi Aminah, do you go by B or Bi Aminah?
My guests love calling me B.
Okay.
For short of
Now at least I have permission to do either way. So I want to
yeah.
thank you for reaching out to me when I put my request out looking for a guest for the show, because I wasn't even sure where we met, but when I got your information, I was like, how did I meet her? And I was just glad because your story is so powerful, especially in a time when people are still struggling to figure out how to get out of difficult relationships, how to get out of abusive marriages. And this conversation, or a conversation very similar to this, is what was the impetus for me starting Divorce is Not a Destination, which led to my book.
Mm.
I was having a conversation with someone who was a therapist working with somebody who was in what she called an abusive marriage. And the therapist was also a pastor. And she said to me, I really want to tell her to leave, but I can't.
Mm.
And so you may understand that spiritual component that many people go through that says you're supposed to stay in your marriage no matter what. And so that's how it got started, some of how it got started for me. So I want to ask you this question. When you look back, what was the early part of your marriage like? Because I always tell people, you don't go on a first date typically and find out that you're with an abusive person and decide to stay with them. So what were the early days like for you?
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm really humbled to be here. Now, the early part of my marriage was blissful, or so I thought.
Mhm.
Everything was perfect. After a few years, I became a stay at home mom because my ex husband then had an international job appointment.
Mhm.
So we lived in various countries. You know, we went on holiday wherever we wanted. I drove whatever car I wanted to drive. But slowly, slowly, towards the end, and I can probably put the climax in the last year
Mm.
of the marriage. Yes, there were things here and there, but somehow we worked through them. somehow some of the things that I thought about him, he managed to slip away. I usually say that he was very smart at slipping the dragnet. And then you find yourself apologizing for something that you thought was true, only to come and realize that yes, indeed, it was true much later.
Mm-hmm.
So that part was good. Then he was an excellent provider. Our kids, we had were blessed with 5 kids.
Oh,
So
wow.
yes, our kids went to the best international school in Kenya. We were the power couple.
Ah, uh-huh.
Whenever you saw him somewhere, if you looked behind, you'd see me round the corner. We did things together, and that just fell apart in the last year.
Now, how many years were you together?
30 years.
30. Okay, first of all, where's my air conditioner? I think I'm having a hot flash. You don't look old enough to have been with anybody 30 years, so blessings from on high for that. My
Thank you.
gosh, 30 years.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of people, this is going to resonate with them because I think one of the challenges is 5 children, 30 years, great life, and it's really easy to start, to say things like, oh, that can't be what I thought it was. He didn't mean that.
Yeah.
And part of it is we built this whole structure, this whole life that I don't want to have destroyed. I don't want to be the reason all of this wonderful stuff falls apart, except what you're living in that last year or so isn't wonderful anymore.
No. And being brought up in a Kenyan household, the girls are nurtured to be caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
are you are nurtured to put everybody else first before
Right.
you do yourself. You are supposed to be seen kind of and not be heard. And the responsibility, the success of your marriage is put squarely on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the men can actually get away with whatever they want to do. And I remember the drama started after my mom had just 3 months after my mom had passed,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad had passed on earlier. So my parents were not there, and neither were his. But when I went to the uh, parent figures in his village,
Mm-hmm.
they told me, but that is what men do. He will settle down at some point.
And what were
And
they referring to? That is what men do. I'm going to put you on the screen. I'm going to
sure,
put you on the screen by yourself here. What were
sure.
they referring to when they said that's what men do?
Okay, as you can see from my headscarf, we
Hmm.
are Muslims. I
Yes.
was born and raised Catholic
Hmm.
until marriage. That's when I embraced the religion of Islam,
Hmm.
and they are allowed up to 4 wives. So in the last year, my ex-husband decided to take a second wife. Now, that was not the problem. The problem was the violence. He became physically, emotionally, financially, you name it, all kinds of abuses. I
Hmm.
experienced it all. And how about the name slandering? So that is what made me leave. It was too much. So when I say that, oh, this is what is happening, he's decided he's taking a second wife, and they're like, look, how many people are polygamous in this village? There are so many, and they're still
Right.
surviving. And
Yeah.
I said, but they're not hit. I said that,
Yeah.
oh, if the fact that somebody doesn't tell you that they are not hit doesn't mean that they are not hit. We are hit
Yeah.
every day, and we still survive. It's up to you to take care of your marriage. Somebody
Yeah.
even told me that it's a biblical verse, a wise woman builds her home or house or something, but a stupid one destroys it.
Oh,
So I
good.
was labeled
Oh,
stupid.
yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
So many people hearing this. First of all, the Bible has been used to do all sorts of horrendous things. We can attribute, a good part of people's psychology around slavery. They use the Bible to keep folks enslaved here. So I'm always my curiosity and sometimes my frustration is always heightened when I know that people are still using the scripture for this specific thing to keep women in abusive situations. I said to a woman one day, I said, I didn't grow up in the church. I grew into the church at some point
Mm,
in my life, and I was, very active in the church and participated in a lot of things in the church. And my education, 3 of my degrees are through Christian universities.
mm,
And I said, but people have to realize there is never a reason that somebody should stay in an abusive situation.
yes.
And when we take little excerpts of the Bible, a wise woman holds on to her, keeps her home, and a stupid woman breaks her home down. That's taking a snippet of a scripture and using it to keep somebody in an abusive situation. And I shared, we go to church and we go to leaders in different faiths to basically, at the end of the day, learn how to live right, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
hopefully the goal is we're going to end up in a better afterlife, if that's what people believe. And I
yeah.
said, but they're sending us back to hell on earth in our own homes.
And I agree with you. People do use religion
Hmm.
to as an excuse for them to perpetrate violence.
Yes.
Regarding polygamy in the Quran,
Hmm.
what that verse specifically says that you can marry two or three or four
Hmm.
if if
Say it. Say it, B.
if you will be just
Yes.
amongst them.
Yes.
But if you cannot be just, then stay with only one,
Hmm.
because God knew that the matters of the heart, you can never be just in that. And if you're not able to be partial to all of them, then stay with one.
Stay with
But
one.
they ignore that. And that verse was thrown at me so many times by anybody and everybody who just
Yeah.
thought that, oh, this is what it says. We are told to marry two, three, or four. But then they
Great.
they took the cherry, but then they left out the context.
100%. a hundred
Yes.
percent. And how many women, excuse me, how many women are living under that, continue to live under that because they aren't able to make sense of it, or they don't have the wherewithal to figure this is not right. I don't care what they're telling me. I know in my spirit this is not right. Or I can read the rest, I can read the rest of the Quran for myself, or the rest of the Bible, or whatever it is
Right.
that you read, and go,
Right.
no, 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 no. This is not just behavior by a
Mm-hmm.
husband. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
how many wives he has.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest brother is Muslim, and he used to tell us, he said, oh, one wife is more than enough for me. One wife, he's had a couple, but only one at a time. Because he said, what man in their right mind would want more than one? He said, that's one is
Right.
plenty. But you're
Yeah.
right. And for people listening, you're going to hear things on this show that are not part of how you were raised. They are not part of your tradition, your belief system, how you were socialized. It's not about you thinking it's right or wrong. It's just different. So if you
Mm-hmm.
heard, oh, he could have 3 wives, that's it's not. This isn't about you judging or deciding what's right or wrong. If it's not right for you, my recommendation is don't do it. But I
Yeah.
want you to learn from people who live in different parts of the world and
Mm-hmm.
how people are socialized differently, that there are types of marriages and types of divorces in different parts of the world that have worked for hundreds and hundreds of years for folks. And it just may be different than what you have been raised to believe. And at the end of the day, what B is saying, whether it's one wife or 3 wives or 4 wives, if you're not able to treat them justly,
Yes.
if you're not able to treat them with respect, then you should not have a wife, any wife.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's fair. I
If
think
you
that's
can't be
fair.
just amongst them, then either you
Mhm.
stay with one or stay alone.
Yeah. And so that's when you started noticing a bigger shift in your relationship. Something else that I think would be helpful. I have done shows where I've brought someone on, or I've been talking, and somebody in the audience has said, oh, if it was me, I would have been out of there. And I try to get people to understand, when you are a friend or a family member of someone you think may be in an abusive relationship, you telling them they just need to get out may not be the best thing. It requires planning. It requires time. They need to have the right resources in place because a lot of women leave and end up going back because they left in a rush and really had no place to go. And so, if you are the friend or family member of someone, I really want you to listen to what Bi Aminah is about to share about what it took for her to be able to leave. And you had two of your daughters with you?
Yes, they
Is
were
that
the
right?
minors of the marriage. The
The little
boys
ones.
were older. Like I
Okay.
mentioned, I have 5 kids, so
Five
three
children.
boys. Yes,
Hmm.
3 boys, and I'm a grandmother too.
You know what? Maybe later we will ask B what she uses on her skin. We will find out what kind of water she is using.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah. So I left with the girls because the girls were 10 and 14.
okay.
And what came to my mind was, the strongest role model in a child's life is the same sex parent. Now, my
Mhm.
girls were between 10 and 14 at a time whereby they needed a motherly figure as they prepare for their roles into womanhood or sisterhood.
Mhm.
So I decided that I could not leave them behind, and not especially with my abuser, who at that point had even withdrawn them from school and
Oh.
wanted them to go into Islamic education. Now, don't get me wrong. I was born a Catholic,
Mhm.
raised as a Catholic. I embraced Islam. I love the religion of Islam. I have stayed in
Mhm.
Islam. It is 8 years down the line, and I'm a fully practicing Muslim. I do not have anything against Islam, not at all. Nor do I have anything against somebody acquiring Islamic knowledge. It is our duty to do that. But the kind of thing that he wanted is that he wanted them to drop out of secular education into Islamic education. What I wanted was a blend of both so that
Yes.
the girls can be able to provide for themselves.
Mhm. Makes
And
sense.
growing up, yeah, I gave up my profession to raise my kids. At that point, I was a stay at home mom. And earlier on, I'd, you notice things here and there. Something happens and you think, no, maybe I was dreaming. Oh, no, maybe I
Yeah.
was wrong.
I overreacted. I
I
that's
overreacted, or
yeah. Mm.
maybe I've been watching too much of that show or listening to too much of this.
Mhm.
But something kept coming back to me. Something kept coming back to me. And I'll tell you that when you say that somebody needs to plan, I came to Canada in 2018.
Mm.
The visa that got me to Canada, I had gotten in 2014.
I hope you're enjoying this episode. Please take a look at my masterclass.
You've built a successful career, checked all the right boxes, but after divorce, why does it feel like everything is falling apart? Searching for answers online at 2 a.m., it will not bring you peace. Neither will pretending you're fine when inside you're anything but. I remember those feelings, the exhaustion, the anxiety, and the frustration from feeling stuck. It seemed like no matter what I did, I could not figure out a way to move past the pain. If you are dealing with a divorce while you're also managing your career, I've been there. Things didn't get better for me until I stopped waiting for time to heal me and I took control of my own healing. And that's how this came about. That's why I designed the 4 essential steps to creating joy after a difficult divorce. It's time to break the cycle. Imagine waking up feeling lighter, knowing exactly what to do next, and rediscovering your joy, not just surviving, but thriving. In this masterclass, you'll learn the biggest mistakes that keep you stuck in divorce pain, why traditional recovery methods don't always work for high-achieving women, and the 4 essential steps to rebuilding your confidence and joy. Give yourself permission to stop reliving the past and start designing the future you deserve. Register today.
And now back to this episode.
Now, listen. Yes, yes. At that time, we had brought our second son to study in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
and he was in a totally different province. So the first time, usually, like I also did with my firstborn, whenever they went to university, because my firstborn also went to university in Britain, I would accompany them, stay
Mm-hmm.
with them for 2 to 3 weeks, and just get to see the cost of living there and how life is there, so that when I go back home, I know exactly, or at least I have a picture of
Idea.
what's going on out
Mm-hmm.
there. So I had accompanied our second son to, we came together to Canada. I stayed for 3 weeks. He'd stayed for a week. He went back. So at that point in time, we had gotten 6 months visas.
Jesus. Okay.
Then they expired. Then I applied again. Then I got to the expiry of passport. And somehow, I believe in prayer so much. Initially, it was just my visa. And then somehow I convinced him and I managed to get for the other kids as well. Now, that was 2014.
Wow. Now, at this point, everything is okay, pretty much? Or are you starting to go, are you really starting to plan a little bit just in case at this
I'm
point?
starting to plan because I'm seeing things,
Okay.
and I used to sit back and then I wouldn't see him in my future.
Mm.
And
Wow.
remember, I was a stay-at-home mom. So everything, all finances, everything was in one basket, ours.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that, you know what, I will not ignore this gut feeling, because I did ignored it
Wow.
and suffered some consequences. So at this point in time, I decided that I'm not going to ignore it anymore. I said, let me just get the visa. I mean, it does no harm. It's going to be in my passport. If I need it, I need it. If I don't, I don't.
Right.
And that's where it started. So you cannot tell somebody that just get up and leave.
Mm-hmm.
No, I stayed 30 years, but I left once.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That,
And do you know the stats say that averagely a woman will leave 7 times.
yep, you're right. I was going to say 5 to 7.
7 times. Seven
Yeah.
times
People need to
before.
understand that, like explain that so people really hear, because when somebody says, "Oh, I would have just left,"
Mm,
many do, but they have to go back. And they have to
yes,
go back because they didn't plan, they didn't
yes.
have the resources, or they didn't have the support. And it's like 7 times that it takes somebody to leave and not have to go back. And if they have to go back, very often the abuse is worse.
Oh, it escalates. It never gets better. It gets worse. So
Mhm.
I stayed on all the time. But when I started not seeing things that were not really happening, they were not really serving my relationship at that time, I
Mhm.
decided to take action.
Yeah.
And I said, I will take a silent action. If I need it, I need it. If I don't, I don't. So I got the visas.
Yes, I
I
love
tucked
what you
away
just
the
said.
passport.
Take
Yeah.
silent action.
Yes.
Silent action. You're hitting so many little points that I want listeners to hear, because if you are listening to this and you know you're in a situation, this sounds familiar to you.
Mhm.
What silent action means, sometimes the mistake women make is they learn things, and then in a whether it's in anger or frustration, they tell the abuser, well, I'm going
Yes.
to leave you. Or, well, you don't know, but I got a visa.
Yeah.
Silent action is important because it may be one of the things that actually allows you to successfully leave. So it's not at this point, even if you're feeling guilty about it, it's probably not a good thing for you to tell your person, this abuser, everything that you're doing or anything. Just keep things as normal as you can and plan silently.
Exactly. And when I got for him the visa as well.
Hmm.
We applied. Look, he was the guy, the person in Annie bringing in the bread.
Hmm. Right.
He was using his bank statements. He
Right. So
got the
everybody
visas
got a
too.
visa.
It's only that my intention behind getting the visas was silent.
Yes.
So you don't talk about it. I have dealt with women several times that when something happens, fireworks, they're blowing up, they're saying this and the third, and they're talking to everybody and they're letting everybody know their plans. Girl,
Yep.
stop. Don't. Stop.
Bi Aminah said, "Girl, don't.
S-
Yeah,
Just stop
keep it to
and be
yourself."
silent. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, even in the last week before I left, Not even my neighbors knew where I had gone.
No,
They
because
had
all
witnessed,
you
and you
have,
know, the good thing is that back home we have fences and what have you. So our fences were high up, and I needed some finances to get to pay for the tickets and what have you. I'm telling you, I sold my stuff on Facebook Marketplace and not under my name. This is something that I'm revealing
oh
for the
my
first
gosh,
time.
this is
I
another,
had, for just for safety, I will not mention who, but I had
yeah,
people go in, list the items as
yes.
their own, list their numbers, and only
Hmm.
handle the payment.
Folks,
And
I'm
not
telling you, this
even
is
my
a master
neighbors. Yeah,
class. This is a master class in
yes,
how to leave.
yes.
Years ago, I had a girlfriend who was in a situation where after I found out he slammed her hand in a drawer one day, and of
Mm,
course it was an accident, but I sent her a book called How to Leave. And I
mm,
can't remember the title. That was something like the title, but I remember the woman had been. She met her husband in college. She stopped and became the supporter. He went on into med school. I think they had 3 kids at that by the time she realized, but she had nothing in her name. She had his last name. She had no credit, and
mm.
she went step by step. This is a masterclass for anybody who needs to leave, wants to leave, is thinking about leaving, or the friend or family member who wants to be a support. You will need some support. You may need some place to go. You may need somebody to meet you someplace to pick you up to get you to a plane, train, bus station so you can leave. But even the Facebook marketplace, because people are like, well, how am I supposed to get money? You just heard what B did. You sell your stuff on Facebook Marketplace, let somebody else sell it for you, and you get the money from them so that you have what you need. And honey, not telling your neighbor, they don't need to know. Anybody that you don't tell, you can notify when you get to where you're going.
Look, my kids didn't even know that we were coming to Canada until the week before we came. When we closed school, we left in August. That was summer
Mhm.
holidays. So when they closed school, I shipped them off to their brother. They stayed with their brother for a while, and then they went off to my sister's place. In the
And
meantime, I was cleaning up.
you picked them up from your sisters.
No, I went there then.
Yeah,
They
you
did
went.
not come back. I
Yeah, they
went there,
didn't come
joined
back.
them
Yeah.
there, and we spent, I think, 2 days there, and then we left from there to the airport.
So what would you say was the most difficult part about this for you emotionally? And how did you guard your daughters or your children? How did you help them emotionally?
The most difficult part for me was detaching myself from my ex-husband.
Mm, 30
I
years is a
got
long
I
time.
got with him when I was 19.
Mm,
This was 30 years down the line. So we had built a life together. We did everything together. We had 5 kids together. You know, we had gone through so many challenges together. And
mm,
that was the most difficult thing. And for my kids, I think it would be the same because their father loved them. Also, we thought,
mhm, mhm,
despite the fact that he pulled them out of school, stopped supporting them, not even medical. And you know, medical back home, you pay to see the doctor, you pay for everything.
mhm.
He withdrew 100%. He even
After you left or before you left?
after, okay, you know, with Muslims, when a man decides that he wants to divorce you, he will issue talaq.
Yes.
Now, after he issues you are allowed 2 chances, let me say, and then the third one is final. So after he issues the first one, you have a grace period of 3 months to reconcile. Then
Mhm.
that doesn't go down in record or anything. You just reconcile and life continues,
Right.
right? Second one too. But after the third one is a final one.
Mhm.
Now, in my case, he issued the first one and then we reconciled after a week, I think. Then the second one came less than 4 weeks after the first one.
Mm.
And I remember my lawyer telling me, girl, you got divorced twice in a month. You
Right.
must be some hell of a woman, you know? So after the second one, then now my life unraveled.
Mhm.
And I just began thinking that when did I allow myself to be treated like this?
Mm.
And why? And I realized that it was because everything that I had done, we had built family wealth together, and everything was in joint names, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I realized for my kids, I realized that it was going to be that as well, the emotional attachment to their father. But this guy had turned into a green-eyed monster overnight.
Mm.
So the kids were looking at him and they were like, ma'am, no, 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 no. In fact, they were my driving force. They kept on
Ah,
saying, no, ma'am, no, no, no. So that is what really
yeah.
propelled me to take action.
Yeah, that right there will give you strength. I
Mhm,
don't have kids, but I know, my mother, when my mom left, I was about 3 and my
mm,
sister wasn't a year old yet. And my grandfather and one of my uncles drove from where they were living in New Jersey to Maryland and
mm,
packed us up in our little apartment and relocated me, my mom, and my sister. And I don't know if my biological dad, was there or around. He may not have been anywhere in the vicinity when that happened,
mm.
but I know that that motivation of her having 2 daughters, similar to yours, I just got a little
Yes.
choked up here.
Yeah.
Just realizing, but having 2 children, and she used to tell me, when you have kids, it's different. She said the things that you will tolerate are a little different because you want a better life for your kids. And then there are things
Yes.
that you won't tolerate because you have kids, you know? And so
Yeah.
I just commend you because having the wherewithal to pack up and leave a good life, right? Because you had
Hmm.
a great life with
Yes.
someone that you had known since before you were 20 years old, 5
Yes.
children. And I
Yeah.
would imagine people who knew you probably thought, oh my God, Bee's got it made. Look at her beautiful life. She's a housewife. Her husband's fabulous. Because this is what people see from the outside. And it is also part of what gets them to want to keep you there. Well, why would you leave this? Your life is so wonderful. Don't let something little like this, and they don't know the emotional and psychological toll it's taking on you. And they're not thinking about what that does to your children, for your daughters to see that, for your sons to see that. And so
And yeah.
kudos to you. Like I'm just the bravery that took. You were going to say something? I have another question, but I want you to finish your thought.
Yeah, what I was going to say, when you say that when you have kids, it changes the dynamics of how you handle your relationship.
Hmm.
It really does. And it can do so either positively or negatively.
Um,
One, you're going to say that I'm staying for the sake of the kids.
oh, how
Never ever
often have
stay
you
for the
heard
sake
that?
of the kids. Yes. Because you say, I don't want my kids to grow up in a single parent household. I don't want
Mm,
my kids to be the children of a single mother, or I'm staying
all
because
of
I want the kids to be close to their dad. Or,
that. Hmm.
and I lived both. I did that for a while
Hmm.
until I got to a point whereby I want my girls to be able to make the choice to leave when a relationship no longer serves them.
Yes.
And I want my sons to learn that this is not the way to treat a woman. If
Yes.
mommy could do it
Ah,
at 50, their wives are going to do it at even 25, 30, or whatever.
right.
So I just wanted that to be a lesson
Hmm.
so that both genders of my kids could learn that this is not the way marriage rolls.
Oh my gosh, I love you. because because you can teach. I tell people I don't have any kids, but I used to be one.
Hmm. Hmm.
I used to be one. And
Hmm.
it's one thing for people to say, I'm teaching my kids because these are the words coming out of my mouth. But
Yes.
children will learn more by what they watch you do than by what they hear you say.
Monkey
Because,
see,
yes,
monkey do.
yes. Because
Mhm.
we can have you can have anything come out of your mouth, but if they see something that contradicts that, they're gonna know, okay, first of all, they're talking foolishness out their mouth because that's not what they do. But for
Yes.
you hit something that is so important for a lot of people. You're going to teach your children this is what love looks like.
Yes.
And so if you stay, and I don't want to get this have anybody misconstrue. We're not saying, if you're still there, you're creating a problem because we've
No.
already said you may need time to figure out how to get out. But if the motivation for you to leave, if you need motivation for you to leave, let this be one of those points of motivation, that you are teaching your children what love looks like if
Yes.
you choose to stay and you have an opportunity to leave.
Yes. And for that woman who is still in a relationship and they don't know whether to leave or not, I will tell you that the reason why you need a plan is because the most dangerous time in a woman's life is after they leave the relationship.
Do you know the percentages? I used to have them here. I've shared them on the show before. I,
Mhm.
I want to say it's over 30%. It may be higher.
Yes.
And what we're talking about, people, just so we're clear, is people think once you get out, you're safe. And when you're dealing with certain mentalities, certain personality types, this is all about control and power. And them keeping you there is them proving that they have the power and the ability to control you. When you leave, you have now broken their control. And I
Yes.
had a therapist say um, the strongest proof of them controlling you is being able to take your life. Taking somebody's life is the ultimate, and I told you I control you. And so this is why you will see restraining orders are great, but a lot of women have been killed after a restraining order was put in place because this person is going after 100% control, and you have just shattered what they thought was them having control over you. And
Yes.
so you can do a search and find out how many women in your area. Just look at the news. A woman in the hair salon doing hair when her husband comes in and shoots her. I've had interviews that I've watched with women where he came in to try to kill her and their son, and you'll see these stories and people are always surprised. Those of us who do this work are unfortunately not as surprised because we know that if they don't leave properly and still stay on your P's and Q's in terms of being secure and safe, you are still at risk. Leaving does not, it may actually increase your risk.
Leaving most definitely increases your risk. And that's how I found myself here. Because after I left, then I realized that things were not as rosy as they were I thought they would be. I thought that it was just going, oh, shake his hand and tell him thank you. It was nice knowing you. But no, it was not that. Dr. Lisa, do you know that after I left I had restraining orders, I had this and that because
Hmm.
after two physical beatings, I went to hospital, then I went to the cop station, I got two restraining orders, but that did not deter him as much. I had my phone tapped. I used to have strange vehicles trailing me. And more than that, my gut feeling was just that, girl, get out. Now, I get an email at some point that tells
Hmm.
me, let us go to the game reserve. It's called Masai Mara.
Hmm.
Listen to this.
The game
Don't
reserve.
Yes. Don't
Okay.
use our regular travel agent. Use somebody who doesn't know us. One. Two, do not tell anybody, including our firstborn son and your sister, that we are
Oh,
going
this
on the game reserve.
this doesn't sound
Three,
good.
three, we are not going to take any phones. Kids, even the kids, they are not going to take their tablets or anything. We are going to have one phone, a simple phone, the basic, yeah, the old phones, just the button
Mhm.
phones, that those ones that you cannot track,
Oh,
and
Bi
plus
Aminah.
a certain provider at that time, that those lines were untrackable. That is what we are
Right.
going to use. And do not even tell the kids until the night
Where,
before so that they can just grab a few clothes.
oh my gosh. Okay, this is not
And then
sounding.
we leave at 4 in the morning.
So I'm just gonna guess that you passed up this wonderful vacation with him.
Oh, girl was already in Canada when the letter
Okay.
but still
But,
I would not have gone.
oh no, it doesn't sound good. Just hearing the
No,
plans, it sounds like
no.
yeah. We just had a doctor here charged with attempted murder. He took his wife hiking and he pushed her off a cliff and she didn't die. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that already had those. So on this note, I want you to talk about what did you do to start your healing process? What was that like for you?
So I came to Canada. I arrived here. Even back home, I was seeing a therapist,
Oh,
but
wonderful.
but it wasn't. Let me say, it wasn't on a deep level. So I arrive in Canada, then we start life. Then I get a job, and sometimes my job required, I had to work because I had to feed the girls.
Yes.
And no, because their father had cut off everything and excluded me from it was really tough. So I go to work, and sometimes I work an evening shift that I have to leave work at 11 p.m.
Okay.
When I get home, I'm parking my car and going into the house. I begin to panic that somebody is following me in the shadows. I check, I scan, there is nobody.
Mm.
This happens that week, because that whole week I worked left work at 4 o'clock, at 11 p.m. I started at 4 to 11.
Hmm.
So that whole week, that fear was within me. So somebody would be thinking that you fled from Kenya in Africa and you came to Canada, continents away, so you're safe. The fear is within.
Yes, that's real. That is
Now,
real.
I had a meeting with myself, and I decided that I want to live and leave these girls a legacy.
Mm.
But with this fear that I was already fearing that there was somebody in the shadows and what have you, it was just not going to work.
Yeah, you had to work through that.
I had to work through that. So I had to give myself permission
Mm.
to accept my circumstances. Honestly speaking, I didn't imagine that 30 years down the line, I would be a divorced single mom.
B. Okay, so
Yes.
this is I don't have one. This is why this is why my book is called Divorce is Not a Destination, because I told that therapist that I was on the phone with that day, that social worker, when she's telling me about this woman who's in a relate, she said, I want to tell her to leave. I said, you know, divorce is not a destination. And
Yes.
she said, write that down. Divorce is not nobody plans a wedding thinking about what the divorce is going to be like. And
Right.
so we don't even have, these aren't even conversations. Nobody has little conversations with little girls about if you get divorced.
No.
We only have conversations about your wedding and your wedding
Yes.
dress. And you're going to be a beautiful bride. And what do you want to be when you grow up? But
Hmm.
nobody, with almost 50% of the people in this country ended up divorced, nobody has a conversation with us at any point about, well, I know you're in love, but let's talk about what this might look like if it doesn't work out. And I don't
Nobody
know if
has
we
that.
think, well, if we do, that means we're opening up that thing, or we're speaking it into existence. No, that's not how it works. This is just the reality. And for someone dealing with this, know that this is something your brain may go through. That it's like you can't process what's actually going on because there was never any room in your brain for this to be a reality.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you've left Kenya or in Canada, and basically there are ghosts following you.
Yeah.
It's it's
And
that fear. Yeah,
you
it's
know,
that fear that somebody is still coming. So what did you do? You said you had a meeting with yourself. What was
yes,
that?
I sat down and I thought about what I wanted for myself in the future.
Mm,
I honored the experience that I'd had, because for a while it was very difficult for me to accept that I was actually now a divorced single mother. So I had to accept that and live with that, process those emotions. Sometimes they were raw. Like I keep
mm.
saying that sometimes one day you are one tough cookie and you're doing life and you're amazing, but the next you're spiraling in on the kitchen floor and you don't know what to do. So I gave myself permission to live through all that and accept it. And then I prayed to Allah and asked, please guide me. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go, but I am lost. And what I know is that I want to leave my girls strong.
Mm. I am
And did I
beaming.
mention to you that I actually I told you that my our son had come, we had brought our son to Canada, but he was in a totally different province.
Uh-huh.
This place where I am at, I chose on the map.
You just you just looked at a map and picked it.
Yes, because I was looking at the map of Canada and wondering now where do I go to? And I didn't want to go where our son was because I knew that if he was to come, he would come straight there.
Right.
Remember, he
Yeah, yeah.
also had the visa.
Yeah, he
He
has
would
a
come
visa.
straight there. So I didn't want that drama there.
What I love, one of the other things I love about what you just said is how you gave yourself permission.
Yes.
That is how I define empowerment. It's
Yes.
giving yourself permission
Mm.
to just step into whatever it is that is next for you, and know that you're going to be equipped even if you don't feel equipped.
Mhm.
God is going to give you what you need, or Allah is going to give you what you need when you take that next step.
Yes.
And you don't have to jump over the whole Grand Canyon at once. It's just the next step is the only thing you really need to be prepared for. And for you to have that meeting, I love the meeting with yourself where you give yourself permission to do it,
Yes.
not just for you, but to leave the legacy that you want for your daughters.
Yes.
So how long were you in therapy? What would you say once you got to Canada? When did you start feeling, when did you stop seeing those shadows?
When I think about 2 years after we had come, okay, for the first year, I was busy chasing because I came in and claimed asylum. So I
Mhm.
was busy chasing paperwork. So I was busy. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Then when I started working, then that settled in. So I think
Mhm.
for that year, I had to process that.
Yeah.
I really had to process that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons that I do the work I do, and probably the same reason. One of the reasons for you is because we know the separation and the divorce. That's one process.
Mm.
It's what happens after.
After.
I've been married more than once, and I tell people, I said the divorce process, the actual physical part of the paperwork, that really, because at that point you already know I shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be together. And so
Yeah.
you're getting through. I tell the marriage should be happening before the I do, and the
Mm.
divorce happens before you get a divorce decree. You
Yeah.
already know spiritually, mentally, but it's the time after where I feel like women are left to figure it out on their own. When you
Mm.
do go out of your house and you think there's somebody following you and there isn't,
Mm.
or when you get on the internet and you see a picture of them living their life with somebody else who you may or may not have known, or whatever it is, and you have to deal with those emotions, or when you have to go to work and you're kind of trying to pretend like there's nothing wrong, and your world feels like it just fell apart.
Yeah.
you know
And
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 I
and
think this
yeah.
is where women need the help. So how did you go from having this experience? What was the point when you said, I want to help other women who have come through this? Because you're talk about your trauma coaching.
Yes. After I went through the process and I realized that actually the most difficult thing was to grieve a being that was still alive.
Ah, say that again, please.
Yes. Grieving over somebody who is still alive and who has several other women, not just the one I left him with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's for all intents and purposes, it looks like his life is going on.
You're grieving somebody who's still alive, who looks like they are living so bright, vibrantly, that you're just like, I cannot even believe that I
Yes.
was with this person.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at that point, I just had an epiphany and I thought that if I, who had a beautiful marriage, so to speak, could go
Mhm.
through this, how about the others whose marriages are just bad from the get go?
Mm.
The main reason that propelled me into trauma coaching, being a Muslim woman, first of all, you're not even supposed to be thinking,
About divorce.
yes, or even exposing
Mhm,
that this is what this guy put me through.
mhm.
The rates of femicide are appalling.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I could have been a statistic.
Oh my gosh. If you had gone on that little getaway
Oh,
adventure,
yes. Oh, yes.
I don't know that I'd be talking to you right now because
Oh,
that
no. You probably
definitely,
never heard of me.
yeah. And what's really frightening is that he wanted you to bring the kids.
So, and that is what baffles me. It was going, I don't know whether it would have been included or it was going to be a lesson. I don't even want to think about
Yeah.
it.
God bless you. Allah
Oh,
bless
God.
you. Because
And
that,
and I'm so glad that
mm,
after sitting down and accepting what was,
mm-hmm.
I was able to rise up. And the pain that I went through and I imagined the other women would be going through is what propelled me into doing this.
Yes.
So who is, maybe now it's getting easier, but back then, who is going to sit up and
I,
begin talking
I
about
don't think,
divorce?
yeah, I don't think it's, I don't know that it's getting easier. You're probably on Facebook and some of these things like me, and I go into some of these groups where it's divorce support, and I read the problems people are having. And
Yes.
one part of me, I love that there are groups for them to go and talk to people. What concerns me is the advice that they get from people who are just sitting home watching television all day, telling somebody what they think she should do, and it's not based on anything. And I just worry that it could be leading people down a bad path. Would you talk about your training as a trauma coach? What that means when you hear, when someone hears trauma coach? What does that mean, and what was your training like?
Okay. Okay, my training is life coaching and then uh, uh, new NLP training and timeline therapy. All these teach you how to rise above the situations emotionally. And
Now
when you bring,
I'm going to have you break each one down. So give them the NLP.
okay, with NLP, you are taught to be able to articulate the kind of life that you would like. I'll just put it simply, the
Mm-hmm.
kind of life that you envision yourself in,
Mm-hmm.
so that then you do not have your mind in a constant state of lack.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Be in abundance.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And some of these things I also took time to, because I've been seeing uh big gratitude, do gratitude journaling,
Yeah.
do this, do that, and I
Yeah.
wondered how they tied in with my religion, and I discovered that these principles are actually there. And
Mm-hmm.
when I do my coaching, I do have two sets. I do one for the secular, and the second one is for the Muslim woman, so that they
Mm.
can learn and they can uh, they can draw from the verses of the Quran, from the hadith that we have in the religion that will support what we are doing currently. Because sometimes people might think that these things clash.
Yes. Thank you for that, because any person of faith, their faith is important to them, and I think it's
Yes.
good for people to know
Mm.
that you can go to different people for help. And if you are Muslim, and for you the preference is to find somebody who is going to really understand your faith because they practice it, then that's the
Yes.
person you want to look for. You
Yes.
can go to somebody who's not Muslim, just like a Christian or a Catholic could come to you and still
Mm.
get help. So there are several things that I think people want to look for, but it's great that you are putting it out there that this is something that you have, so people
Yes.
know either way she's going to be able to support you. So the NLP, what does NLP stand for? Because there are a couple of different things people might find if they look it up.
Yeah. Neuro linguistic
Okay,
programming. Yeah.
great.
That is
And
what
then
it stands for.
the
Timeline
other one,
therapy.
yes.
Timeline therapy is it teaches you, the basic is that it teaches you to bring in the situation, the ugly situation, and it teaches you to rise above it and be able to live above it.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I wish I lived around the corner from you, because we would be having lunch today. Um,
Oh, girl, I'm coming to Atlanta next week.
oh, that's right. We're going to see each together next week. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I have a saying that I actually got from Lisa Nichols when I was working with her. And she says, you want to be able to stand on your story and not be stuck in your story.
No.
And when you're able to stand on your story, you can bless other people with what you've gone through, as opposed to being stuck in it where you're still trying to process it to the point where you're not really ready to use it to help someone else. And that sounds very much like what you just described. You want to
You
be
know,
able to. Mhm,
when you're stuck in your story, it
mhm.
means one, you're not accepting of the situation. Two, you're thinking that whatever situation you are in should not have happened. And I keep, the other day I was
Ah,
joking with my sister and I told my sister told me, you somehow managed to detach yourself from 30 years and I admire you for that. So I asked her, whenever, because she visits me every year. So I asked her, whenever you come to visit me, and you're on the plane and you're having a time of your life because either you're flying maybe business or first class, you're having good treatment. When you get to your destination, do you disembark or do you stay on the plane? Because the
mhm,
experience was so good, so you want to stay on the plane.
right. Ah,
You get off. You're not going. You stay in the plane after everybody has disembarked. Either you're going back to where you've come from, or you're going to starve to death.
yeah, right. You're gonna sit on that plane until they kick you off. Yeah,
Yes. So you
it's like
have to
there's a
get
time
off.
for everything. Yeah,
And if that is the journey that has got you there and it has come to an end, accept it. It is difficult, it is
yes,
challenging, it's not pretty, it's pretty rough,
yep.
but accept it. And that is the only way that I'm able to stand up and speak about this and help somebody else, because
Mm,
somebody else then is going through a difficult time. And if they don't find somebody that they can attach to, then
mhm.
they're lost. In the
Yes.
meantime, femicide keeps increasing.
Who, gosh, yes. At alarming at numbers that the average person would be shocked to hear. It really it because I know when I started hearing the numbers, it was just shocking to me. And
Yes.
now there are, I don't know if it's still on. There was a Netflix show that I
Mhm.
think did six episodes be, and each episode was about someone who had been killed by their ex
Mm.
or by their,
Yeah.
this, they go through the separation and they show you what happened.
Mm.
And each one of them, you're just like, oh my gosh, no one expects it. No, I tell people, no one ever expects it to be that bad. And
Mm.
people say, oh, they would never do X, Y, Z. I had a family member um, going through, found out her husband was cheating. They had only been married almost a year.
Mm.
And when he came back from being out of the country, he came back to their home and she had found out while he was gone. And
Mm.
I called her. I said, "You and you need to tell him he needs to go someplace else." "No, we're fine. He would never." And I said, "Nobody would ever until it happens.
Yeah.
It's always a never until it's
Yeah.
not. And that's too late. You have firearms in your house because they both have registered firearms." I said, and they had a roommate. She had a roommate that was staying in an extra room there because she had been there by herself for a good part of the year. And I said, you and your roommate need to explain to him during the day that he needs to go and he can find some place to stay and notify whoever else you need to notify so that they know that this is what's happening. Because my thing is, even if you have to have a police officer there, do what you need to do to stay alive.
Yeah.
Because when people are found out and they're worried about their image or how it's going to look or the fact that they don't control the narrative or the situation or you, that's when dangerous stuff can happen. And I said on either side, I said it may be you that ends up in jail behind doing something crazy because you aren't emotionally stable right now. So what is something you wish someone had told you, or is there anything somebody could have told you at some point that would have helped you? Because I just feel like you did everything perfectly. So I don't even know what that would have been.
Oh, well, it is not something that somebody would have told me, but I should have trusted my gut earlier on.
Ah, man. Wow.
I should have trusted my gut earlier on.
That
And
I've started calling it inner wisdom, that
yes, yes,
intuition. It's that inner wisdom. And
Yes.
even when I was young, my mother used to always say, trust your gut. And when you're young and you hear things like that, you're like, what's mommy talking about? And then,
Yeah.
by the time you're in your late teens, early 20s, you kind of know what it is, but it's amazing how often we will take ourselves out because we want to intellectualize something
Yeah.
that doesn't align with what our gut told us
Yeah.
because we don't want it to be true. We don't want it to be true. And we think we're going to analyze it into what we want it to be. And it's like, no, I don't care how this feels for you right now. But if
Yeah.
you had honored that, you could have been out of this a little sooner.
Yes. It's, when you refuse to accept, it's
Mhm.
you sticking to the joyful plane ride.
Yeah.
And you do not want to accept that it's going to come to an end,
She said,
you
you
know,
want that plane ride to go on forever and ever and ever.
forever.
And
And
eventually
it
the plane
doesn't
will
work
run
like
out of
that.
gas. The plane will run out
Yeah.
of gas. This is not going to end well if you
Yes.
don't stop this ride. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. That is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, what
Mm-hmm.
would you say to a woman who's listening right now, who is
Mm-hmm.
in this? She's starting, that gut feeling is there. What would be one of the first couple of things you would recommend that she do?
Process what it is and what you think, because we definitely know when you're in a situation, that if I left, this and this is going to happen. So
Hmm.
process what it is, envision your life without this person, and begin planning from there going forward,
Mm, mm.
not backwards. Start from there. And do not, you just need maybe 3 or 4 people in your corner that you will swear to secrecy, and the rest don't don't tell anybody, nobody. I'm telling you, even our neighbors back home, remember, this is an area where we lived in for 20 years.
Hmm.
But when I
Yeah.
left, I told them I'd gone to the village. I told them that, by the way, I'll be going to the village. And for 18 months, my ex did not know where I was or the kids. He assumed that I was in the village, you know,
That,
until
I
I
think,
had to send an affidavit from here. That's when
from,
he realized,
oh,
oh,
right. She's in
and
Canada.
yes, and up to that point, even with
No
my
idea.
neighbors, I kept communicating with them like I was in the village. I even sent gifts to them. I organized for gifts to be. They said, "Oh, now you're in the
Right.
village. You would like
Right.
to have this," and I would organize for it to go to them.
Ooh, you are going to help. Somebody is going to be so blessed by this because they didn't think about it to this
Mm,
degree.
mm,
And I know some people are probably thinking, oh, that feels kind of sinister. I feel like I'm lying. This is about, at this point, this is about the preservation of your
yeah.
being, your children, your psychological well-being,
Mm,
your emotional well-being, and possibly your life. Like, let's
you're
just
right.
keep this real.
Yeah.
When you are at this point, and even if you don't feel like it's this dire, like even if you don't feel like that's but you need to get away, it doesn't cost you anything to not tell everybody, but it may cost you everything if you can't keep a secret.
If you can keep a secret,
Yeah.
and
And
I always say that the moment you even think that you should not be there, you should not be there.
yeah,
The
because something
moment
has happened.
something comes into your mind,
Hmm.
God is sending you that wisdom for a reason.
Yeah. That's
Mm.
something you really need to investigate. You need to give
And
yourself
address.
permission to investigate where did that come from and
Yes.
honor it.
Yes.
Even if it's temporary, even if something in you says, you know what, I need to go visit a family member for a week or two
Mm-hmm.
and process this because that, but what happens for a lot of folks is that feeling comes, it hits them, they think about it and they go, oh, that I'm being ridiculous, or they look around and go, I don't want to lose my home, my status, my friends, and they talk themselves out of it. But that, give yourself permission,
Yeah.
listen to your intuition, that
Mm.
inner wisdom when it's speaking to you. And when you
Think-
get to the point where you know you're going to leave,
Yeah.
a few select friends that you swear to secrecy, and then
Yes.
zip it up. Zip it
Zip
up.
it up. Don't
So,
talk to somebody.
yeah, Amina, where are you now? What's going on for you now? What are you doing, and where can people find you?
I am in Canada, and I'm launching my podcast soon, Spirals of Strength. So people can find me on Spirals of Strength on Facebook or LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok as well. And then my book, Becoming Whole Again, will be
Ooh.
launching soon. And it is just the 7 steps that guide you to wholeness. Because, I mean, when I left after 30 years, I was broken in a million pieces.
Mm.
I had to bring all these pieces back together and ensure that I'm going to go forward. And if you ask me, I would not have it any other way. Because if I had stayed, I would not be here where I am. If I did
No.
not honor that journey, I would not be who I am today. I would not have the strength that I have with me today. So it is doable to anybody who is out there and doubting themselves. You are stronger than you think.
Yes.
You can do this. You can totally do this. And always choose life.
Oh, you know what? There's no other way for me to wrap this up. Choose life. And I will just say, you are the face of what the Joy Act looks like. I
Mhm.
like to tell people, there is joy beyond divorce.
Yes.
And I like to call this part of our life living in that joy act. This is not the fourth act or the final act, it's the joy act. And we get to create and design the lives that we want for ourselves. And in your case, for you and your children who I'm praying are just thriving. And I know they have to be elated about the fact that you made the changes that you made so that all of you could have a different type of life, a better life. And I'm so glad. Thank you so much for reaching out. This has just been absolutely wonderful for me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And just to that woman again, please honor your intuition, do your things in secrecy, in silence, and reach out for help. There's a few of us out here who can guide you. Look for somebody who has lived your experience.
Hmm.
They will, and look at what they have done for themselves and
Oh, yeah.
emulate that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good point. That's another good point. Well, thank you so much. And everybody, look, enjoy wherever you are in your life and know that if it's not what you want it to be, you do have the power to
Hmm.
change it
Hmm.
and create the life that you actually want for yourself. So until I'm on here next time, next week, I will see you again. Until then, act and enjoy.